Maria wiped down the last table in the empty diner, her worn sneakers squeaking against the linoleum floor. It was 11 p.m., and her feet ached from the double shift. But she couldn't complain. She needed every dollar to keep her grandmother's medications coming. As she reached for her coat, the door chimed. A disheveled man stumbled in, his clothes torn and dirty, a gash bleeding above his eyebrow. "Please," he gasped, "I need help." Marcus Wellington III stood outside his own company's headquarters, deliberately transformed. The $1,000 suit was gone, replaced by thrift store rags he'd carefully distressed. Makeup artists had given him bruises and dirt smudges. His designer watch sat in a safe at home. For years, he'd wondered if the loyalty he saw in his employees' eyes was real or just a reflection of his bank account. Today, he'd find out. The plan was simple. Pose as a homeless man who'd been mugged and observe how his staff treated someone with nothing. His security team watched from unmarked vehicles as Marcus approached the building's side entrance, where employees entered each morning. He'd start there, then work his way through various departments. By day's end, he'd know who truly embodied the values his company claimed to represent. The morning rush began at 7. Executives in expensive suits hurried past him without a glance. "Spare some change?" Marcus mumbled, staying in character. They clutched their briefcases tighter and walked faster. His own vice president, a man he'd golfed with countless times, actually stepped over his outstretched legs with a look of disgust. Marcus felt something crack inside his chest, not surprise, but a deep, aching disappointment. Department heads followed, then middle managers. The pattern repeated endlessly. Some ignored him. Others muttered complaints about these people lowering property values. One senior director actually called security, reporting a war vagrant problem that needed immediate attention. These were people Marcus had promoted, rewarded with bonuses, trusted with his company's future. Not one stopped. By noon, Marcus was genuinely cold, hungry, and disheartened. The concrete had seeped chill into his bones. His staged injuries throbbed. The makeup artist had been too realistic. He was about to end the experiment early when he heard a soft voice. "Sir, are you okay?" Marcus looked up to find a young woman crouching beside him. She couldn't have been more than 25, wearing a simple dress that had been mended at the hem. Her employee badge identified her as Maria Santos, custodial staff. He didn't recognize her, which made sense. His company employed 3,000 people, and he'd shamefully never ventured into the custodial departments. I'm hurt," Marcus managed. Staying in character, Maria's eyes widened at the blood on his forehead. Without hesitation, she dug into her purse and pulled out a small first aid kit. "I keep this for my abuela, my grandmother," she explained, gently cleaning his wound. Her hands were rough from work but infinitely gentle. "This might sting." As she worked, she talked to him like a human being, not a problem to be solved or ignored. She asked his name, he said Mark, and where he'd come from. She didn't pry when his answers were vague. When she finished bandaging him, she pulled out a paper bag. "I packed extra lunch today, please take it." Marcus stared at the bag. Through his research, he knew Maria's salary, barely above minimum wage. He knew she supported her grandmother alone, worked double shifts when she could, and sent money back to family in Ecuador. This lunch probably represented a significant portion of her daily food budget. "I can't take your food," he protested weakly. "Yes, you can," Maria said firmly. "We all need help sometimes. That's what makes us human, helping each other." She pressed the bag into his hands, then added a $20 bill. "There's a shelter 3 blocks north. They're good people. Tell them Maria sent you." Before Marcus could respond, her supervisor's voice cut through the moment. "Santos! What are you doing? Get away from that bum and get back to work." Maria stood, her spine straightening. "Mr. Peterson, this man needed help. He needs to move along. This is private property." Peterson, a man Marcus suddenly remembered approving for promotion last year, glared down at both of them. "Consider this a warning, Santos. One more incident and you're fired. We can't have custodial staff wasting time on every street person who wanders by, Co." Maria's face paled. She clearly couldn't afford to lose this job, but She didn't apologize. She simply nodded, gave Marcus one last kind look, and walked back toward the building. Peterson followed, already on his phone, probably reporting the incident to HR. Marcus sat there, gripping the paper bag, feeling emotions he couldn't name. Inside were a carefully wrapped sandwich, an apple, a granola bar, and a note scrawled on napkin. "Bad times don't last forever. Stay strong." He opened the sandwich. Peanut butter and jelly on store-brand bread. Simple, humble, given freely by someone who had almost nothing. He took a bite, and to his shock, tears began sliding down his cheeks. When had he last cried? When had he last felt this broken open by simple human kindness? For the next 3 hours, Marcus watched his company. He saw executives throwing away half-eaten gourmet lunches while stepping over him. He saw managers complaining about their modest six-figure salaries. He saw the vast invisible distance between the people who ran his company and the people who truly kept it functioning. The custodians, security guards, cafeteria workers who everyone walked past without seeing. By 4 p.m., security finally approached him, ready to forcibly remove him from the property. Marcus stood, still in character, and shuffled away, but he didn't go far. He watched from across the street as evening fell and employees flooded out. Then he saw Maria emerge, her shoulders slumped with exhaustion. Marcus made his decision. He pulled out his phone and made 3 calls. Then he went home, showered off the makeup and grime, put on his best suit, and returned to the office. The next morning, Marcus called an all-company meeting. 3,000 employees packed into the main auditorium, buzzing with confusion. Emergency meetings usually meant layoffs or acquisitions. The anxiety was palpable. Marcus took the stage and told them everything. He showed photos from the previous day, him in disguise, ignored and dismissed by dozens of passing employees. The room fell silent. He saw shame on many faces, recognition on others. "Yesterday I was invisible," Marcus said quietly. "Hundreds of you passed by someone who needed help." Only one person stopped. He gestured to the wings, Maria Santos. "Please come out here." Maria emerged, clearly terrified and confused. She'd probably thought she was being fired. Marcus watched her face transform from fear to shock as he recounted her kindness, holding up her note for everyone to see. "This woman makes less in a month than some of you spend on a car payment," Marcus continued. "Yet she gave me her lunch, her first aid supplies, her last $20 his voice cracked. "She saw me as a human being when her own supervisors couldn't." He turned to Maria directly. "I'm offering you a full scholarship to any university you choose. Your grandmother will receive the best medical care available, fully covered. You'll also be promoted to our new position of Director of Compassion Initiatives, with a salary of $200,000 a year. Your job will be to ensure this company never forgets what really matters: people." Maria's hands flew to her mouth, tears streaming down her face. The auditorium erupted in applause, but Marcus raised his hand for silence. He wasn't finished. "For those who walked past me, no one's being fired, but we're all going to change. Starting today, every executive will spend 1 day a month working alongside our custodial, cafeteria, and maintenance staff. We'll implement a new profit-sharing program so everyone benefits from our success. And we're establishing an emergency fund for employees facing hardship, because no one in this company should have to choose between medicine for their grandmother and eating lunch." He paused, looking out at the sea of faces. "Yesterday, I was looking for loyalty. Instead, I found something more important. I found out what kind of people I want to build this company with. People like Maria, who understand that our humanity isn't measured by what we have, but by what we're willing to give." In the front row, Maria was openly weeping, supported by co-workers who'd worked beside her for years without really seeing her. Behind her, Marcus spotted his vice president, the man who'd stepped over him that morning. The shame on his face was almost painful to witness. But Marcus had learned something yesterday on that cold concrete. Judgment wasn't the answer. Growth was, change was. The willingness to be better, to do better, to see better. 6 months later, Marcus stood in the same auditorium for Maria's university send-off party. She'd chosen to study social work, determined to help others the way she'd once helped a stranger outside her workplace. Her grandmother sat in the front row, healthy and beaming with pride. The company had changed, too. Executives who'd once rushed past anyone awed beneath them now knew their custodians, names, their stories, their struggles. The emergency fund had already helped dozens of employees through crises, and Marcus himself had changed most of all. He no longer measured success by quarterly earnings alone, but by the number of lives his company improved. As Maria accepted her scholarship certificate, she turned to Marcus with that same gentle smile she'd given him on the worst and best day of his life. "Thank you for seeing me," she said simply. Marcus shook his head, his own eyes damp. "Thank you for seeing me first." Because that was the truth he'd learned on cold. Concrete with a peanut butter sandwich in his hands, real wealth wasn't in bank accounts or stock portfolios. It was in the courage to help when help was needed, to give when you had little, to recognize humanity in every face you passed. Maria hadn't just helped a homeless stranger that day. She'd saved a man who'd forgotten what truly mattered. And in doing so, she'd changed everything.